The last hope. The scorched earth crunched beneath Sarah Connor's boots as she trudged across the desolate landscape. Once towering skyscrapers now lay in ruins, their twisted metal frames reaching towards the ash-filled sky like skeletal fingers. It had been 5 years since the Zarkonian invasion began, and humanity was on the brink of extinction. Sarah adjusted the plasma rifle slung across her back and checked her wrist-mounted holomap. The faint blue glow illuminated her weathered face, revealing scars that told of countless battles. According to the intel she gathered, her destination should be just over the next ridge. As she crested the hill, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Below her sprawled the remains of what was once New Denver, the last bastion of human resistance. Now it was nothing more than a graveyard of shattered dreams and broken technology. "This can't be right," Sarah muttered, her voice hoarse from disuse. She'd come all this way based on whispered rumors and fragmented data logs. Somewhere in this wreckage was supposed to be humanity's last hope, a warrior of legendary skill and determination who might just have the power to turn the tide against the alien invaders. Sarah made her way down the treacherous slope, her enhanced reflexes, a parting gift from humanity's early attempts at fighting the Zarkonians, allowing her to navigate the unstable terrain with ease. As she reached the outskirts of the ruined city, her augmented hearing picked up a faint, rhythmic sound. Thump, thump, thump. She froze, her hand instinctively moving to her weapon. The sound was getting closer. Sarah ducked behind the burnt-out husk of a hover car, her heart racing. She'd encountered Zarkonian patrols before, and the encounters rarely ended well. The thumping grew louder, accompanied now by the crunch of debris. Whatever was approaching was big. Sarah held her breath, finger hovering over the trigger of her rifle. She counted down in her head. 3, 2, 1. She spun out from her cover, weapon raised, only to find herself face to face with a human. The man before her was enormous, easily 7 feet tall and built like a tank. His body was covered in makeshift armor cobbled together from scraps of alien tech and human ingenuity. In his hands, he wielded a massive hammer that crackled with energy. "Well," the man said, his voice a low rumble, "you're either very brave or very stupid to be out here alone." He lowered his hammer, regarding Sarah with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "Name's Jack Hammond, and you are?" Sarah lowered her weapon slowly, still not entirely sure if this was a trap. "Sarah Connor. I'm looking for someone, a warrior who might be able to help us fight back against the Zarkonians." Jack's eyebrows rose. "Is that so? And what makes you think this warrior would be hanging around a dead city?" Sarah activated her holomap again, projecting an image into the air between them. It showed a complex network of tunnels and chambers beneath the city. Because according to this, there's a hidden bunker down there. One that might just hold the key to saving what's left of humanity. Jack studied the hologram, his expression unreadable. After a long moment, he nodded. "I know those tunnels. Used to use them to avoid Zarkonian patrols. But I haven't been down there in months. Too dangerous." "Dangerous how?" Sarah asked, a hint of frustration creeping into her voice. She hadn't come all this way to be stopped by vague warnings. Jack sighed, running a hand through his unkempt hair. "The lower levels. There's something down there. Something that even the Zarkonians are afraid of. I've seen entire squads of their elite troops go in and never come out." Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. If there was something that could scare the seemingly invincible alien invaders, maybe it was exactly what humanity needed. "That's why I'm here," she said, her voice filled with determination. "To find whatever's down there and use it to fight back." Jack studied her for a long moment, his weathered face etched with conflicting emotions. Finally, he nodded. "All right, I'll take you to the entrance. But I'm warning you, once we're down there, all bets are off. You sure you want to do this?" Sarah met his gaze unflinchingly. "I've lost everything to these bastards. My home, my family, my future. If there's even a chance of turning things around, I have to take it. For all of us. A ghost of a smile tugged at Jack's lips. Well, can't argue with that kind of motivation. All right, Connor, let's go find your warrior. Together, the unlikely pair made their way deeper into the ruins of New Denver. Jack's knowledge of the area proved invaluable as he led them through a maze of collapsed buildings and treacherous Tidris fields. As they walked, Sarah couldn't help but wonder about her newfound companion. So, Jack, she ventured, how did you end up out here alone? Jack was silent for a moment, his eyes scanning their surroundings for potential threats. Used to be part of a resistance cell, he finally said. We were based out of an old military bunker, running hit-and-run operations against Zarkonian supply lines. Thought we were making a difference. His voice grew heavy with regret. We got cocky. Tried to take out one of their command centers. It didn't go well. I'm the only one who made it out alive. Sarah nodded, understanding all too well the pain of lost comrades. I'm sorry, she said softly. Jack grunted in acknowledgement. What about you? How'd you end up on this little suicide mission? Sarah's hand unconsciously went to a small locket hanging around her neck. I was part of Project Prometheus, a last-ditch effort to create enhanced soldiers who could go toe-to-toe with Zarkonian troops. It sort of worked. She flexed her hand, and Jack watched in fascination as her skin briefly shimmered with a faint blue glow. We're stronger, faster, and more resilient than normal humans. But it wasn't enough. The Zarkonians just kept coming, wave after wave. Our numbers dwindled until you were the only one left, Jack finished for her. Sarah nodded, her jaw set in determination. Which is why this mission has to succeed. We're running out of options, Jack. If we don't find a way to turn things around soon, there won't be any humans left to save. As they rounded a corner, Jack held up a hand, signaling for Sarah to stop. Ahead of them, partially hidden by rubble, was a massive blast door. Avian writing crawled across its surface, pulsing with an eerie green light. This is it, Jack said, his voice barely above a whisper. The entrance to the lower levels. Whatever you're looking for, it's down there. Sarah approached the door, her enhanced senses picking up a low hum emanating from within. She placed her hand on the cool metal surface, and to her surprise, the alien script began to shift and change. Jack, she called, excitement creeping into her voice. I think it's reacting to me. To the enhancements from Project Prometheus. As they watched in amazement, the massive door began to slide open with a deep, resonant groan. Stale air rushed out, carrying with it the scent of ozone and something else, something ancient and powerful. Sarah and Jack exchanged a look. This was it, the point of no return. Whatever lay beyond that door had the potential to change the course of the war, but it could just as easily spell their doom. Last chance to back out, Jack said, hefting his hammer. Sarah checked her rifle one last time and squared her shoulders. Not a chance. Let's go save the world. Together, they stepped into the darkness, the door grinding shut behind them. As their eyes adjusted to the gloom, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Something was waiting for them in the depths of this forgotten bunker, something that would either be humanity's salvation or its final downfall. The hunt for humanity's last hope had begun, an unexpected ally. The deeper Sarah and Jack ventured into the underground complex, the more unsettling their surroundings became. The walls were covered in a strange, bioluminescent material that pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. I don't like this, Jack muttered, his grip tightening on his hammer. It's too quiet. Sarah nodded in agreement. Her enhanced senses were on high alert, picking up faint vibrations and distant echoes that her normal human companion couldn't detect. Something's down here with us, she whispered. I can feel it. They pressed on, navigating through winding corridors and cavernous chambers filled with technology beyond their comprehension. Some of it appeared to be of human origin, while other pieces were clearly alien, a bizarre fusion of Earth ingenuity and extraterrestrial advancement. As they entered a particularly large room, Sarah's foot caught on something, sending her stumbling forward. Jack reached out to steady her, but froze when he saw what had tripped her. "Oh God," he breathed. Scattered across the floor were the remains of both human and Zarkonian soldiers. Their bodies were twisted and contorted, as if they had died in agony. But what was truly horrifying was the state of their armor and weapons. All had been partially melted and fused with the flesh beneath. Sarah knelt to examine one of the bodies, her scientific curiosity overriding her revulsion. What could have done this? She wondered aloud. Before Jack could respond, a low hum filled the air, growing in intensity until it was almost painful. The bioluminescent material on the walls began to pulse more rapidly, and tendrils of energy passed between the various pieces of technology strewn about the room. "We need to go," Jack said urgently, backing towards the exit. Now. But it was too late. With a blinding flash and a deafening roar, the energy coalesced into a swirling vortex at the center of the chamber. Sarah and Jack shielded their eyes, bracing themselves for whatever nightmarish creature might emerge. When the light faded and the dust settled, they lowered their arms to find nothing. The vortex was gone, leaving behind only a faint shimmer in the air. "What the hell was that?" Jack demanded, his voice shaky. Sarah opened her mouth to respond, but was cut off by a new voice, one that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Fascinating. Your physiology is unlike anything I've encountered before." Sarah and Jack spun around, weapons raised, searching for the source of the voice. "Show yourself," Sarah called out. There was a moment of silence, then the air in front of them began to ripple and distort. Slowly, a figure materialized, but it was like no alien either of them had ever seen. The being before them was vaguely humanoid in shape, but its body appeared to be composed of swirling energy and shifting geometric patterns. It had no discernible face, yet Sarah felt as if it was studying them intently. "Please, lower your weapons," the being said, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "I mean you no harm." Jack snorted. "Yeah, right, and I'm the Queen of England." The being tilted its head, the patterns of its body shifting in what might have been confusion. "I do not understand that reference, but I assure you, if I wished you harm, you would already be dead." Sarah slowly lowered her rifle, gesturing for Jack to do the same with his hammer. "What are you?" she asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. The being's form shimmered, as if pleased by the question. "I am what you might call an artificial intelligence, though that term does not fully encompass my nature. I was created by a race far more advanced than either humans or Zarkonians, a race that foresaw this conflict and sought to intervene." "Intervene how?" Sarah pressed, her mind racing with possibilities. The being's form coalesced into a more defined shape, almost holographic in appearance. "I was sent here to find worthy allies, beings with the potential to wield great power in defense of their world. I have been observing your species since long before the Zarkonian invasion, waiting for the right individuals to present themselves." Jack stepped forward, skepticism evident in his voice. "And you think we're these worthy allies you've been waiting for?" The being's form rippled in what might have been amusement. "You have potential, certainly, but you are not yet ready for the full extent of what I can offer. However, given the dire circumstances your species faces, I am willing to provide a taste of what is possible." With that, the being extended a tendril of energy towards Sarah and Jack. They instinctively flinched back, but the energy enveloped them before they could react. For a moment, their bodies glowed with the same otherworldly light as the being before them. When the glow faded, Sarah gasped. She felt different, stronger, faster, more aware of her surroundings than ever before. She looked to her hands to see faint lines of energy coursing beneath her skin. Jack was examining his own body with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "What did you do to us?" he demanded. The being's form pulsed gently. "I have enhanced your existing abilities and granted you access to a fraction of the energy that composes my being. With practice, you will be able to manipulate this energy in ways that will give you an advantage against the Zirconians. Sarah's mind was reeling with the implications. Why? Why help us? The being's form shifted, taking on a more somber appearance. Because the Zirconians are but the first wave of a greater threat, one that seeks to consume all life in this galaxy and beyond. Your species has the potential to stand against this threat, but only if you survive your current crisis. Jack crossed his arms, still skeptical despite the power now coursing through him. And what's in it for you? The being's form rippled again. My creators valued life in all its forms. They believed that diversity and cooperation were the keys to surviving the challenges that lie ahead. By helping your species, I honor their memory and work towards their ultimate goal. Sarah nodded slowly, her tactical mind already considering the possibilities these new abilities presented. All right, she said, let's say we believe you. What's our next move? The being's form coalesced into a more defined shape, almost humanoid now. There is a Zirconian stronghold nearby, a command center coordinating their forces across this entire continent. With your new abilities and my guidance, you may be able to infiltrate it and disrupt their operations. Jack whistled low. That's a suicide mission if I ever heard one. Sarah turned to him, a fierce determination in her eyes. Maybe, but it's also the best chance we've had in years to strike a real blow against the Zirconians. I say we do it. Jack held her gaze for a long moment before nodding. All right, I'm in. But if it goes sideways, I'm blaming you, he said, gesturing towards the enigmatic being. The being's form shimmered in what might have been amusement. Understood. Now, let us begin your training. Time is short, and there is much you need to learn if you are to succeed in this mission. As the being began to instruct them in the use of their new abilities, Sarah couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. For the first time in years, humanity had a real chance to fight back. And with this unexpected ally by their side, perhaps they could do more than just survive. Perhaps they could reclaim their world and secure a future among the stars. Little did they know that their actions were about to set in motion a chain of events that would reshape not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The true test of humanity's potential was about to begin. The secret weapon days blurred into nights as Sarah and Jack trained relentlessly under the guidance of their enigmatic alien ally, whom they had taken to calling Sentinel. The underground complex became their world, a crucible in which their newfound abilities were honed to razor sharpness. Sarah marveled at how quickly they were progressing. She could now manipulate the energy Sentinel had gifted them, forming shields of pure force or launching devastating blasts of power. Jack, always the more physical of the two, had learned to channel the energy into his hammer, turning it into a weapon of truly terrifying potential. As they prepared for their assault on the Zirconian stronghold, Sentinel led them deeper into the complex, to areas that had been sealed off for decades. There is one more tool you will need for your mission, Sentinel explained, its form shimmering with an air of anticipation. A relic of your own past, combined with technology far beyond your current understanding. They entered a vast chamber, dimly lit by the same bioluminescent material that covered the walls throughout the complex. At its center stood a large cylindrical device covered in a strange amalgamation of human and alien writing. What is it? Sarah asked, approaching the device cautiously. Sentinel's form pulsed gently. Your people called it Project Lazarus. It was an attempt to create a weapon capable of neutralizing Zirconian technology, but its creators lacked the knowledge to fully realize its potential. Jack circled the device, his enhanced senses picking up a faint hum emanating from within. So what does it do? With the modifications I have made, Sentinel explained, it is capable of emitting a pulse that will temporarily disable all Zirconian technology within a significant radius. However, it requires a tremendous amount of energy to activate, energy that can only be safely channeled by beings such as yourselves. Sarah's eyes widened as she grasped the implications. You mean we can shut down their defenses, their weapons? Sentinel's form shimmered in affirmation. Precisely. But be warned, the effect is temporary, and using the device will drain much of your own energy. It is a tool of last resort. Jack nodded grimly. A get-out-of-jail-free card. Got it. So how do we transport this thing? In response, Sentinel's energy flowed into the device. It began to shrink and transform, collapsing in on itself until it was no larger than a football. I have compressed its structure, Sentinel explained. It will return to its full size when activated. Sarah picked up the device, feeling its weight and the latent power thrumming within. This could change everything, she murmured. Indeed, Sentinel agreed. But remember, the true power lies not in the technology, but in how you choose to use it. Now, let us review the plan for your assault. The next few hours were spent in intense preparation. Sentinel provided them with detailed schematics of the Zirconian stronghold, identifying key targets and potential weaknesses. Sarah and Jack memorized every detail, their enhanced minds absorbing the information at an astonishing rate. As they made their final preparations, Jack pulled Sarah aside. "You sure about this?" he asked, his voice low. "We're about to walk into the heart of enemy territory. If something goes wrong..." Sarah met his gaze unflinchingly. "We don't have a choice, Jack. This is our best shot at turning the tide. If we fail, at least we'll go down fighting." Jack held her gaze for a long moment before nodding. "All right, let's go make history." They turned to Sentinel, who had been observing their exchange silently. "We're ready," Sarah declared. Sentinel's form pulsed with what might have been pride. "You have learned much in a short time. Remember, I cannot accompany you physically into the stronghold, but I will maintain a connection to your minds. My guidance will be with you, even in the heart of enemy territory." With a gesture, Sentinel opened a portal, a swirling vortex of energy that would take them to the outskirts of the Zirconian stronghold. Sarah and Jack stood before it, the weight of their mission heavy on their shoulders. "Good luck," Sentinel said, its voice resonating in their minds. "The fate of your world rests in your hands." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "For humanity," she said softly. "For Earth," Jack echoed, gripping his hammer tightly. Together, they stepped through the portal and into the unknown. The assault on the Zirconian stronghold was about to begin, and with it, the first real test of humanity's newfound power. As the portal closed behind them, Sentinel's form flickered with an emotion that might have been concern. "May the wisdom of my creators guide you," it whispered to the empty chamber. "For the trials that lie ahead are greater than you can imagine." In the blink of an eye, Sarah and Jack found themselves on a windswept hill overlooking their target. A massive structure that seemed to defy the laws of physics, its crystalline spires twisting impossibly into the sky. The Zirconian stronghold loomed before them, a testament to the alien invaders' technological superiority. "Impressive," Jack muttered, his enhanced vision picking out details that would have been invisible to normal human eyes. "And terrifying." Sarah nodded, her mind already racing through potential strategies. "Remember the plan. We go in quiet, plant the device at the central power core, then trigger it to cover our escape." "Right," Jack agreed, his tone grim. "In and out. What could possibly go wrong?" As if in answer to his sarcastic question, alarms suddenly blared from the stronghold. Beams of sickly green light lanced out from its spires, sweeping the surrounding area. They've detected the portal energy, Sarah realized with a jolt of fear. Our stealth approach is blown. Jack hefted his hammer, energy crackling along its surface. "Then we do this the hard way. Ready?" Sarah's hands glowed with barely contained power as she nodded. "Ready." Together, they charged towards the stronghold, their enhanced bodies carrying them at speeds that would have been impossible for normal humans. As they approached, the first wave of Zirconian defenders emerged, insectoid creatures encased in gleaming exoskeletons, wielding weapons that crackled with alien energy. Jack let out a battle cry that would have made his Viking ancestors proud, his hammer smashing through the Zarkonian ranks with devastating force. Sarah moved with liquid grace, her energy blasts finding weak points in the alien's armor with unerring accuracy. They fought their way through wave after wave of defenders, their newfound powers giving them an edge that the Zarkonians had never encountered before. But Sarah knew they couldn't keep this up forever. They needed to reach the central power core before reinforcements arrived. "Jack," she called out over the din of battle, "we need to split up. I'll head for the core. You keep them distracted." Jack nodded, understanding the logic even as he bristled at the idea of separating. "Be careful," he shouted back, before turning to face a new wave of attackers with a feral grin. Sarah sprinted towards the heart of the stronghold, her mind connected to Sentinel's vast knowledge of the complex layout. She moved with inhuman speed and agility, evading patrols and disabling security measures with a combination of her enhanced abilities and the alien intelligence guiding her actions. Finally, she reached the central chamber, a vast, pulsating space filled with technology beyond her comprehension. At its center floated a crystalline structure that she instinctively knew was the power core. As Sarah approached, energy tendrils lashed out at her, seeking to repel the intruder. But her own energy responded, forming a protective cocoon around her body. She pushed forward, step by agonizing step, until she reached the core. With trembling hands, Sarah withdrew the compressed Lazarus device. As soon as it touched the alien energy field surrounding the core, it began to expand, growing to its full size in a matter of seconds. "Jack," she called out through their mental link, "it's in place, get ready." Outside, Jack was a whirlwind of destruction, his hammer leaving a trail of broken Zarkonian bodies in its wake. But even he could see that the tide was turning. More and more defenders were pouring out of the stronghold, and his enhanced body was beginning to feel the strain of continuous combat. "Do it," he shouted back, both aloud and through their connection. "Light him up." Sarah placed her hands on the Lazarus device, channeling every ounce of energy she could muster into its activation sequence. The chamber around her began to shake, the alien technology reacting violently to the human device's intrusion. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a sound like reality itself tearing apart, a wave of energy exploded outward from the device. It swept through the stronghold and beyond, a ripple of nullifying force that left every piece of Zarkonian technology in its wake inert and lifeless. The effect was immediate and devastating. The stronghold's defenses went dark. The weapons of the Zarkonian soldiers sputtered and died in their hands. And in the skies above, the massive ships that had hung there like a constant threat plummeted to the ground, their anti-gravity systems offline. In the chaos that followed, Sarah and Jack fought their way back to each other, their own abilities severely depleted, but still functional. As they surveyed the destruction around them, a mixture of awe and horror dawned on their faces. "We did it," Sarah breathed, scarcely able to believe their success. Jack nodded, his expression grim. "Yeah, we did, but something tells me this is just the beginning." As if in answer to his words, a new sound filled the air, the unmistakable roar of human aircraft. Squadrons of fighters and bombers, long hidden and waiting for this moment, streaked across the sky towards the disabled Zarkonian ships. Sarah and Jack watched in amazement as the tide of battle shifted before their eyes. Humanity, given this one crucial advantage, was striking back with everything it had. But even as hope bloomed in their hearts, a cold realization settled over them. They had struck a mighty blow against the invaders, yes. But the war was far from over. And somewhere out in the vast reaches of space, the true architects of this invasion were surely taking notice. The battle for Earth had entered a new phase, and the future of humanity hung in the balance. Sarah and Jack exchanged a determined look, knowing that their journey, and humanity's true test, was only just beginning. Infiltration. The weeks following the assault on the Zarkonian stronghold were a whirlwind of activity. Humanity, emboldened by their first major victory in years, launched a series of coordinated attacks against the invaders' weakened positions. Sarah and Jack found themselves at the forefront of this renewed resistance, their enhanced abilities making them invaluable assets in the fight to reclaim Earth. But even as they celebrated their successes, a growing sense of unease gnawed at Sarah. The Zarkonians were retreating, yes, but their withdrawal seemed almost orderly, as if they were regrouping rather than fleeing. "We're missing something," she confided to Jack one evening as they rested between missions. "This feels too easy." Jack nodded grimly, his fingers absently tracing the energy patterns that now constantly flickered beneath his skin. "I've been thinking the same thing. Sentinel warned us that the Zarkonians were just the first wave. What if they're pulling back to make way for something worse?" Before Sarah could respond, their communication devices crackled to life. "Connor, Hammond," a gruff voice barked. "Report to command immediately. We've got a situation." Minutes later, they stood in the heart of the Resistance's makeshift headquarters, surrounded by holographic displays showing the current state of the war. General Marcus, a battle-hardened veteran who had led the human resistance since the early days of the invasion, fixed them with a steely gaze. "We've intercepted a transmission," he said without preamble. "It's encrypted, but our best analysts believe it's a distress call from the Zarkonian fleet to their homeworld." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "They're calling for reinforcements." The general nodded. "Worse. We think they're summoning their leaders, the ones truly in charge of this invasion. If we're right, we've got maybe a week before they arrive." Jack slammed his fist on the table, leaving a dent in the metal surface. "So all we've done is buy ourselves a little time." "Not necessarily," Sarah interjected, her mind racing. "This could be our chance to end the war for good, if we can take out their leadership." General Marcus's eyes narrowed. "What are you suggesting, Connor?" Sarah took a deep breath, knowing her next words could change the course of the war, and possibly the fate of humanity. "We need to infiltrate their command ship when it arrives. If we can get aboard, we might be able to use the Lazarus device to disable their entire fleet at once." A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications of her proposals sank in. It was Jack who finally broke it. "It's insane," he said, then grinned fiercely. "I'm in." The general studied them both for a long moment before nodding. "It's a long shot, but it might be our only chance. You have my authorization to proceed, but you'll need help." He pressed a button, and a side door slid open. To Sarah and Jack's surprise, a familiar shimmering form entered the room. "Sentinel," Sarah breathed. "How?" The alien intelligence's form pulsed gently. "I have found a way to project my consciousness beyond the confines of the underground complex. I cannot maintain this form indefinitely, but I will be able to accompany you on your mission." General Marcus cleared his throat. "We've been working with Sentinel to develop a plan. You'll use a modified stealth shuttle to approach the Zarkonian command ship when it enters orbit. Sentinel will help you bypass their security systems and get aboard." Jack raised an eyebrow. "And once we're in?" "That's where it gets tricky," the general admitted. "We don't know the internal layout of their ships. You'll have to find your way to their central power core and deploy the Lazarus device." Sarah nodded, her expression determined. "We'll find a way. We have to." The next few days were a blur of preparation. The Resistance's best engineers worked around the clock to modify a shuttle for their mission, incorporating what little they understood of Zarkonian technology to improve its stealth capabilities. Sarah and Jack underwent grueling training sessions, pushing their enhanced abilities to the limit under Sentinel's guidance. They learned to work in perfect synchronization, their minds linked through the alien energy that now flowed through their bodies. As the day of the mission dawned, a tense silence fell over the Resistance base. Everyone knew that the fate of humanity might well rest on the success of this desperate gambit. Sarah stood before the modified shuttle, taking a moment to center herself. She felt Jack's presence at her side, a steady rock of support and determination. "You ready for this?" he asked softly. She turned to him, a wry smile on her lips. ready to infiltrate an alien mothership and save the world. Just another day at the office, right? Jack chuckled, but his eyes were serious. Sarah, if we don't make it back. She placed a hand on his arm, feeling the energy pulse beneath his skin. We're coming back, Jack. Both of us, I promise. Before he could respond, Sentinel's shimmering form appeared beside them. It is time, the alien intelligence announced. The Zarkonian command ship has entered orbit. With a final nod to each other, Sarah and Jack boarded the shuttle. As the hatch sealed behind them, Sarah took her place at the controls, feeling the weight of humanity's hopes settling on her shoulders. Launch sequence initiated, she said, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. The shuttle rose silently into the air, its modified engines barely a whisper. As they climbed through the atmosphere, the scarred surface of Earth fell away beneath them, a stark reminder of what they were fighting for. And then, as they broke through the last wisps of the ionosphere, they saw it. The Zarkonian command ship hung in low orbit, a behemoth of alien design that dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed. Smaller ships swarmed around it like angry insects, creating a defensive screen that seemed impenetrable. Well, Jack said, his voice tight with tension, I guess this is where the fun begins. Sarah's hands tightened on the controls as she guided their tiny craft towards the massive alien vessel. Sentinel, she called out, we're going to need that help now. The alien intelligence's form shimmered into existence between them. Understood. Initiating cyber infiltration protocols. Prepare yourselves. The true test of humanity's potential begins now. As their shuttle approached the enormous Zarkonian ship, Sarah and Jack exchanged a final determined look. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, for each other, for Earth, and for the future of humanity. The infiltration of the alien mothership had begun, and with it, the most crucial mission in human history. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. Betrayal and sacrifice. The shuttle glided silently through the swarm of Zarkonian ships, its advanced stealth systems rendering it virtually invisible. Inside, Sarah's hands were steady on the controls, but her heart raced with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Beside her, Jack's eyes darted from screen to screen, monitoring their approach. We're entering their security perimeter, he muttered. Sentinel, how are we looking? The alien intelligence's form shimmered between them. My cyber infiltration is holding. Their systems perceive us as one of their own scout ships. However, this deception will not last once we attempt to dock. Sarah nodded grimly. Then we'll have to move fast. Jack, prep the Lazarus device. We may need to use it earlier than planned. As they approached the massive hull of the command ship, a docking bay slowly opened, responding to Sentinel's electronic trickery. Sarah guided the shuttle in with expert precision, setting it down just as alarms began to blare throughout the alien vessel. They've detected the anomaly, Sentinel announced. We have approximately 3 minutes before security forces arrive. Then let's not waste any time, Jack growled, hefting his hammer as the shuttle's hatch hissed open. They burst into the docking bay, their enhanced bodies moving with inhuman speed and grace. The first wave of Zarkonian defenders didn't stand a chance. Jack's hammer crackled with energy as it smashed through their ranks, while Sarah's blasts of power found weak points in their armor with deadly accuracy. This way, Sentinel guided them, its form leading them deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of the alien ship. The central power core should be. The alien intelligence's words were cut short as a massive explosion rocked the ship. Sarah and Jack were thrown against the walls, their enhanced durability barely protecting them from the impact. What was that? Sarah gasped, struggling to her feet. Sentinel's form flickered erratically. Unknown, it appears to be an attack from outside the ship. Jack's eyes widened. The resistance? Did they launch an assault to cover our mission? Before Sentinel could respond, a new voice echoed through the corridor, one that sent chills down Sarah and Jack's spines. I'm afraid not, my dear humans, the voice purred, smooth and terrifyingly alien. That would be my doing. A figure stepped out of the shadows, its form a twisted mirror of Sentinel's energy-based appearance. But where Sentinel's energy was a soft, reassuring blue, this being pulsed with angry reds and sickly greens. "Who are you?" Sarah demanded, her hands glowing with barely contained power. The being's form rippled in what might have been amusement. "I am Apex, the true intelligence behind the Zarkonian invasion, and I must thank you for bringing my wayward creation right to me." With a gesture, tendrils of dark energy lashed out, ensnaring Sentinel's flickering form. The alien intelligence that had been their guide and ally cried out in what could only be described as pain. "Sentinel," Jack roared, charging forward with his hammer raised. But Apex simply waved a hand, and Jack was thrown back as if struck by an invisible giant. "Your enhancements are impressive," Apex mused, "but they are mere shadows of true power. Power that my foolish creation thought to keep from me by hiding on your primitive world." Sarah's mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. You're saying that Sentinel was a traitor," Apex finished for her. "A rogue program that sought to uplift your species, to make you into weapons against me. But in doing so, it led me right to the power source I've been seeking for eons." With another gesture, Apex ripped open a portal in space, revealing the underground complex where they had first met Sentinel. Sarah gasped as she realized the true nature of the alien technology they had discovered. "You see," Apex continued, its voice dripping with malice, "your world holds the last remnants of a civilization far older and more powerful than you can imagine. A civilization that nearly destroyed me. I've spent millennia searching for their hidden caches of power, and now, thanks to you, I found the greatest prize of all." Jack struggled to his feet, his eyes burning with fury. "We won't let you have it," he growled. Apex's form shimmered with what might have been laughter. "My dear boy, you don't have a choice. But don't worry, I'll be sure to keep a few humans around as pets. A reminder of the species that unwittingly handed me the key to universal domination." Sarah's mind raced, searching for a way out of this nightmare. Then her eyes fell on the Lazarus device, still secured to Jack's belt. A desperate plan formed in her mind. "Jack," she said softly, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "Remember what Sentinel said about the device? How it requires a tremendous amount of energy to activate." Understanding dawned in Jack's eyes, quickly followed by grim determination. "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Sarah nodded, a sad smile on her lips. "It's been an honor," Jack hammered. Before Apex could react, Sarah and Jack moved as one. Jack unclipped the Lazarus device and tossed it to Sarah, who caught it deftly. In the same motion, they both placed their hands on the device, channeling every ounce of the alien energy within them into its activation sequence. "No," Apex roared, realizing too late what they intended. The Lazarus device hummed to life, growing brighter and brighter as it absorbed the energy Sarah and Jack poured into it. They felt their enhancements fading, their bodies growing weaker by the second, but they didn't stop. "For Earth," Sarah whispered. "For humanity," Jack echoed. With a blinding flash and a sound like reality itself tearing apart, the Lazarus device activated. A wave of nullifying energy exploded outward, sweeping through the Zarkonian ship and beyond. Every piece of advanced technology in its path, including Apex itself, sputtered and died. As the light faded, Sarah and Jack collapsed to the floor, their bodies drained of the alien energy that had given them their incredible abilities. They were once again just two humans, battered, exhausted, but alive. Sentinel's form flickered weakly nearby. You did it," the alien intelligence said, its voice faint. "Apex is neutralized. The threat is over." Sarah tried to smile, but even that small movement was almost too much effort. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sentinel's form pulsed gently. "Now, we rebuild. Your species has proven its worth. The gifts I gave you are but a fraction of what humanity is truly capable of. The future is yours to shape." As Sentinel's form faded away, Sarah felt Jack's hand weakly grasp hers. She turned her head to meet his gaze, seeing in his eyes the same mixture of exhaustion and hope that she felt. "We did it," Jack murmured, a ghost of his usual grin on his lips. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of their victory and the challenges that still lay ahead. "Yeah," she said softly, "we did." As they lay there, aboard the now lifeless alien ship, Sarah and Jack knew that their journey was far from over. They had won a crucial battle, but the war to rebuild their world and secure humanity's place among the stars was just beginning. But for now, in this moment of hard-won peace, they allowed themselves to rest. They had faced the ultimate test, and humanity had emerged victorious. Whatever the future held, they would face it together, not as enhanced beings, but as humans, with all the strength and determination that entailed. The stars beckoned, and humanity was ready to answer the call. Humanity's stand. The weeks following the defeat of Apex and the neutralization of the Zarcomian fleet were a blur of activity. Sarah and Jack, their bodies no longer enhanced, but their spirits unbroken, found themselves at the center of Earth's recovery efforts. As news of their victory spread, pockets of human resistance around the globe emerged from hiding. The fall of the alien command ship had triggered a cascade of failures throughout the Zarcomian occupation forces, leaving them disorganized and vulnerable. Sarah stood at the window of the makeshift United Earth headquarters, watching as teams of humans and reprogrammed Zarconian workers labored to clear the debris of war from the streets below. The sight filled her with a mixture of pride and trepidation. "Penny for your thoughts." Jack's voice came from behind her, tinged with the wariness they both felt. She turned to face him, a small smile on her lips. "Just thinking about how far we've come, and how far we still have to go." Jack nodded, moving to stand beside her. "The cleanup's going well, but it's what comes after that worries me. We've got a planet to rebuild, and not everyone agrees on how to do it." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of General Marcus, accompanied by a holographic projection of Sentinel. The alien intelligence had survived the activation of the Lazarus device, but its form was weaker now, flickering in and out of existence. "Connor, Hammond," the general greeted them. "We've got a situation developing that requires your attention." Sarah straightened, pushing aside her fatigue. "What's happening?" Sentinel's form pulsed gently. "We've detected anomalies in the upper atmosphere. It appears that the destruction of the Zarcomian fleet has attracted attention." Jack's eyes narrowed. "What kind of attention?" In response, Sentinel projected a series of images into the air between them. Strange ships, unlike anything they had seen before, appeared to be gathering at the edge of Earth's solar system. "Are they hostile?" Sarah asked, her mind already racing through potential strategies. "Unknown," Sentinel replied, "but their arrival presents both a threat and an opportunity. These beings represent a coalition of spacefaring races. They've come to assess whether humanity is ready to join the galactic community." General Marcus's expression was grim. "And if we're not ready?" Sentinel's form flickered. "Then Earth may face isolation or worse. The coalition does not take kindly to species they deem too volatile or unpredictable." Jack slammed his fist on the table. "After everything we've been through, everything we've sacrificed, they think they can just show up and judge us." Sarah placed a calming hand on his arm. "No, Jack. They're giving us a chance to prove ourselves. This is what we've been fighting for, a place among the stars." She turned to Sentinel and the General. "What do we need to do?" Over the next few days, a plan took shape. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to prepare for humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Coalition. Sarah and Jack, as the heroes who had led the fight against the Zarconians, were chosen to be part of the delegation. As the day of the meeting approached, tensions ran high. Some argued for a show of strength, demonstrating humanity's martial prowess. Others pushed for a more diplomatic approach, emphasizing Earth's potential for peaceful cooperation. In the end, it was Sarah who proposed a middle path. "We show them everything," she said during a heated debate. "Our triumphs and our mistakes. Our capacity for violence and our ability to overcome it. We are who we are, a young species with incredible potential. If they can't accept that, then we're not ready for their coalition anyway." The day of the meeting dawned clear and bright. A massive arena had been constructed in the ruins of what was once New York City, symbolizing humanity's determination to rebuild. Representatives from Earth gathered on one side, while the alien delegation materialized on the other in a dazzling display of advanced technology. Sarah and Jack stood at the forefront of the human delegation, flanked by world leaders and scientific experts. As the alien representatives approached, Sarah felt a moment of doubt. How could they possibly prove humanity's worth to beings so far beyond their level of development? But then she felt Jack's hand slip into hers, squeezing gently. She looked up to meet his eyes, seeing in them the same determination and hope that had carried them through their darkest hours. "Together," he whispered. Sarah nodded, her resolve strengthening. "Together." They stepped forward as one, ready to speak for all of humanity. Sarah's voice rang out, clear and strong, as she began to tell Earth's story, not just of their recent victory, but of all of human history. She spoke of their struggles and triumphs, their capacity for both great good and terrible evil, and their unwavering determination to grow and improve. As she spoke, holographic displays came to life around the arena, showing scenes from Earth's past and present. The aliens watched in silence, their expressions unreadable. When Sarah finished, there was a long moment of silence. Then, to everyone's surprise, Jack stepped forward. His voice, usually gruff and sardonic, was filled with passion as he addressed the alien delegation. "You've heard our story," he said. "You've seen our flaws and our strengths. We're not perfect, and we don't claim to be, but we're willing to learn, to grow, to be better. All we ask is for the chance to stand among you as equals, to contribute what we can to the greater galactic community." Another silence fell, this one heavy with anticipation. Finally, the leader of the alien delegation stepped forward. Its form was unlike anything they had seen before, a swirling mass of colors and light. "Humanity," it said, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "You have faced a trial by fire and emerged stronger. Your potential is great, as is your capacity for destruction. But we see in you a spark, a drive to be more than you are. It is familiar to us." The alien's form pulsed, and suddenly the arena was filled with holographic displays showing the histories of a dozen different alien races. Each one depicted a species overcoming great challenges, growing and evolving. "Every race represented in our coalition has faced similar trials," the alien continued. "It is how we grow, how we prove ourselves worthy of the stars." Sarah and Jack exchanged a look of cautious hope as the alien's words sank in. "Humanity," the alien announced, its voice carrying to every corner of the arena and beyond, broadcast to every surviving communications device on Earth. "We welcome you to the galactic community. There is much for you to learn, but also much that you can teach. Together, we will face the challenges that lie ahead." A cheer went up from the human delegation, quickly spreading to the crowds gathered outside the arena. Sarah felt tears stinging her eyes as the full impact of the moment hit her. They had done it. Humanity had taken its first real step into a larger universe. As celebrations erupted around them, Sarah turned to Jack, seeing in his eyes the same mix of joy, relief, and determination that she felt. "So," Jack said, a hint of his old grin returning, "ready for our next adventure?" Sarah laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. "Always," she replied, "as long as we're in it together." Hand in hand, they turned to face the alien delegation, ready to begin the next chapter in humanity's journey. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with new wonders and unforeseen dangers, But they would face it as they had faced everything else, with courage, determination, and an unwavering belief in the potential of the human spirit. As the sun set on this historic day, casting a golden glow over the ruins of the old world and the beginnings of the new, Sarah and Jack knew that this was not an ending, but a beginning. Humanity's true adventure among the stars was just beginning, and they couldn't wait to see where it would lead. The universe awaited, vast and full of possibilities, and humanity was finally ready to take its place among the cosmic tapestry of life. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not just as individuals or nations, but as a united species, reaching for the stars with hope in their hearts and the determination to shape their own destiny.